Good morning to all of you and welcome to the session, the Hindu editorial analysis for proficiency in English. What is today's editorial about? Today's editorial is all about protecting prisoners against the backdrop of COVID-19 cases surging. How does it start? Imprisonment practices need a relook so that the police do not effect unnecessary arrests. There is one important word in this sentence. They do not effect. Generally, we use effect as a verb, effect as a noun. I have told you guys many a time. Effect can be a verb, can be a noun, but usage point of view, it is always used as a noun. Occasionally, formal English, written English, a literary expression, we use the word effect as a verb. In this editorial, it has been used as a verb many a time. In a nutshell, this editorial is all about releasing the prisoners and avoiding congestion when it comes to jails or prisons. What is the reason? What is the backdrop? COVID-19 cases surging. And today a few words are important, not too many words, and only 10 words you can learn. Many of these words you must be knowing. Now let us go to the editorial. Protecting prisoners. So it's easy to understand. What is this about? Protecting prisoners. Why should they be protected at this juncture? Obviously, because of COVID-19 cases, the surging of COVID-19 cases. Imprisonment practices need a relook so that the police do not effect unnecessary arrests. Already the prisons are congested, so police should not resort to unnecessary arrests. That is the main idea of the editorial. Imprisonment practices. Another important word is here. Practice, T-I-S-E, that is a verb form, and here T-I-C-E, that is a noun form. Imprisonment practices need a relook, and whatever you see in green related to English grammar, need a relook, present tense, so that the police do not effect, again present tense in negative form, do not effect unnecessary arrests. So it means what? Police should not resort to unnecessary arrests. Why? Because of congested prisons, because of the cases related to COVID-19. The cases are surging like anything. Now let us go to the editorial. If overcrowding of prisons has been a perennial problem in this country, high occupancy levels can only mean bad news amidst a pandemic. If overcrowding of prisons has been a perennial problem, this is in present perfect tense active voice. But this is an important expression. What is the reason? Generally, you are conditioned to see a main verb after has when it comes to present perfect, and sometimes we use the helping verb to be in the past participle form. Here, been is the past participle of the helping verb to be. If overcrowding of prisons has been a perennial problem in this country, high occupancy levels can only mean bad news amidst a pandemic. There's one word here you have to learn, perennial. Perennial means what? Lasting for a long time, or lasting, something that lasts or exists for a long time, or infinitely. Then we use the word perennial. This has been a perennial problem in the country. What has been a perennial problem? Overcrowding. High occupancy levels can only mean bad news amidst a pandemic. High occupancy when it comes to hotels, good news. High occupancy when it comes to prisons, bad news, especially in the middle of a pandemic. And here bad news amidst means what? In the middle of a pandemic, not a good news. And whatever you see in purple, it is related to a standard phrase. The Supreme Court has been intervening from time to time to address this problem. The Supreme Court has been intervening. It is in present perfect continuous. In this editorial, you come across present perfect continuous. Many a time the writer has used. I have been teaching, you have been learning. Present perfect continuous has been intervening. Intervene means to interfere with something in order to bring a positive result. From time to time to address this problem. Here address means to deal with, to solve. To address this problem, that is a standard phrase. Generally we say If there's a problem, address the problem. There's a problem, people are not looking at it, someone is not trying to do anything about it, then we say, try to address the problem immediately. But its latest order directing the interim release of eligible prisoners acquires salience in view of the uncontrolled second surge in the raging pandemic. There are two words you can learn from this sentence. One, interim means temporary. Release of eligible prisoners acquires. Acquire means to get. The sentence is in present tense. Acquires what? Salience. Generally we use the word salient, that form, adjective form. But here salience is a noun form. It means importance. Salience in view of, that's an important phrase, the uncontrolled second surge in the raging pandemic. When something spreads like wildfire, then we use the expression raging, in the raging pandemic. Last year, now the editorial talks about what happened in the past. Last year, the court had past perfect tense. Last year, the court had passed such an order quite early. The one of March 23rd, 2020 came even before the nationwide lockdown. Before the lockdown, similar something like that came in the past. The court had then ordered, again in past perfect, the court had then ordered all states to take preventive steps as well as constitute high-powered committees to determine the class of prisoners who could be released on bail or parole for a specified period. A lengthy sentence, and had then ordered past perfect tense, the class of prisoners. Here class means a category, the category of prisoners who could be released on bail or parole. Temporary release. This is an important word you have to remember. It means what? Parole means to release someone temporarily or permanently based on the good behavior of that particular inmate. For a specified period, that is also an important phrase. In directing this week that besides identifying more prisoners for release, the same set of prisoners be given parole this year too, the court continues its trend of seeking to protect prisoners as well as those guarding them from getting infected. Now, what is the idea behind doing this or taking these measures or directing the prisons to do something? To avoid or to protect prisoners as well as those guarding them from getting infected. A good idea, intention is good, a lengthy sentence, but besides important grammar point of view, exam point of view, there are two prepositions, besides. Beside means what? Next to. Besides, in addition to. The court continues its trend, continues present tense, of seeking to protect prisoners as well as those guarding them from getting infected. There have been significant initiatives plural, so there have been, again present perfect, and we have used to be as the main verb, past participle of to be, been. There have been significant initiatives to prevent any uncontrollable spread within the congested jails, ranging from stopping the practice of transporting remand prisoners to court for periodical extension of custody and hearings to asking authorities to prepare readiness and response plans. Again related to the same thing, not to congest because the prisons are already congested. Congested means too crowded. Generally it goes with places, congested place. The court's order is welcome. It is in present tense. The editorial says it's a good thing. The court's order is welcome both as a move to decongest jails and a measure that protects the right to life and health of the prisoners. There are two dimensions. One is decongesting jails. That is one thing. That's a good thing. The second, they can protect the right to life and health of the prisoners. Now that the issue of reducing occupancy in the prison is once again under focus, and not merely for the usual reason of overcrowding, but also in view of the vulnerability of prisoners and prison staff to infection and disease, a comprehensive look at the imprisonment practices in the country may be in order. Now they have to look at, take a comprehensive look. There's an important word, comprehensive, taking everything into consideration. And what are the related words? Holistic and exhaustive. There have been reports, again, noun in the plural form, so have been. There have been reports of prisoners testing positive and getting hospitalized. How far the regular testing and medical treatment available to inmates across the country is effective is unclear. The editorial says something is not clear. What is unclear? How far the regular testing and medical treatment available to inmates across the country is effective. How far the regular testing and medical treatment, to what extent they are effective, that is not clear. That is unclear. There is one word here, it is important, inmate. Those who are confined to a particular prison or a particular hospital. Those who are confined to a prison or hospital, we use the word inmate, plural inmates. Now, how does the editorial end? Oh, some more paragraphs we have. There have been reports. Further, even political prisoners such as those jailed in the Bhima Koregaon case without any direct link to any act of violence are being repeatedly denied bail. Solely because stringent laws have been invoked against them. There are two words you have to learn. Again, the editorial gives examples. And in this context, there are two words you have to learn. One, stringent. Usually it goes with the rules and regulations. Stringent means very strict. And invoke, it has got different meanings. One meaning goes with religion and appealing to a god or a deity to be present, or urging a god or a deity to be present as a witness. And invoke in this context means to use law in order to achieve something. To use law, a particular law, to achieve something, in order to achieve something. Some political activists in Delhi are also in jail. Again, the editorial gives a lot of examples, perhaps to indicate why the jails are congested. Some political activists in Delhi are also in jail under anti-terrorism laws for alleged complicity in riots early last year. Now, there is one important word. This example goes with political activists who have been in jail under anti-terrorism laws for alleged complicity in riots early last year. Complicity, involvement in a crime. Someone gets involved in a particular crime, we use the word complicity. There is one particular word you have to learn, accomplice. He was an accomplice in that crime. A typical sentence. What does it mean? He was part of the crime. From that related word, complicity. Are also in jail, present tense. The courts must take into account their vulnerability to infection and consider bail. The courts must take into account, must, helping verb. It has got two different functions. One, it is used to express a personal obligation. The second, it is used to convey the idea that something is compulsory. The courts must take into account, must consider their vulnerability. Vulnerable means someone who is likely to get exploited or likely to get affected. And another two more words you have to think of. Vulnerable, endangered or threatened. Vulnerability to infection and consider bail. In its order, the Supreme Court has rightly emphasized the need to adhere to the norms. I should have brought these two in red. Adhere means to stick to. Usually it goes with norms, rules, regulations, policies and procedures. Adhere to the norms. Norms means rules. It had laid down. This is important from the exam point of view. Excuse me. Why is it important? One, it is in past perfect. That way, not that important. But there's an important verb. What is it? Already you have learned two verbs come under confusing verbs. Lie, lay. Lie, lay, laying. Irregular form. Lay, laid, laid. Another verb. Lay, laid, laid. This verb means to put something down. It goes with things, babies, rules, regulations, roads, foundation stone. In this context, rules. It had laid down in Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar 2014, under which the police were asked not to effect unnecessary arrests, a reiteration of the main idea, especially in cases that involve jail terms less than 7 years. In the past, the court has also asked authorities, present perfect tense, in all districts in the country to give effect to section 436A of the CrPC, under which Under tribes who have completed half of the maximum prison term prescribed for the offence may be released on personal bond. Again, the direction of the court. In the past, the court has also asked authorities, this is in present perfect, ask for what? In all districts in the country to give effect to section 436A of the criminal CR.P.C, under which under trials who have completed half of the maximum prison term prescribed for the offence may be released on personal bond. How does editorial end? Effective follow-up action is needed. We need effective follow-up action, that is present in active voice. Effective follow-up action is needed, present in passive voice. Why? To audit these measures so that these are not implemented selectively or arbitrarily. This is an important word. Arbitrarily, not based on reason, not based on rationality, based on whims and fancies. These are not implemented selectively or arbitrarily. That's all about this editorial. Now let us have a look at the words you can learn from this editorial. Perennial, lasting for a long or infinite time. Something lasts or exists for a long time or infinite time, we use the word perennial. Generally in this context, perennial problem. Intervening, to interfere with something. Salient, adjective, salience, noun, importance. Parole, temporary release of a prisoner. Congested, too crowded or blocked. Comprehensive, exhaustive, usually it goes with syllabus, policies, procedures, comprehensive, exhaustive, and holistic. Inmates, persons confined to a prison or hospital, you can use the word inmate singular, inmates plural. Stringent, you have got many a time, very strict. Stringent rules. Invoke, use law in order to achieve something. Complicity, involvement in a crime. Now let us go to comprehension part. What are the questions based on this editorial? As usual, the first question, what is this editorial about? Second question, what has been a perennial problem in the context of the editorial? What are the key words? Perennial problem. What is unclear in the context of the editorial? There's only one word, unclear. Based on that word, if you navigate, you will be able to locate the answer. What is needed to audit the measures taken by the Supreme Court? At the back end of the editorial, you have the answer for this question. What is needed to audit measures taken by the Supreme Court? Keywords. What acquires salience in view of the uncontrolled second surge in the raging pandemic? Again, keywords, you can easily locate the answer. Now it is your turn to respond. Let us start with error location. The first sentence. Currently, 3/4 of India's 718 districts has what is known as a test positivity rate above 10%, including major cities like New Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. Where is the error? This is an important question. The reason being, the subject, don't consider currently. 3/4 of India's 718 districts. Please listen very carefully. This was given based on this pattern. 2017 SBI PO, there was a question. 3/4, that's a fraction. Whenever you use a fraction as a subject, generally there is a phrase after that. 3/4 is a subject, a fraction. After that, there is a phrase of India's 718 districts. In this phrase, there is one noun, districts. Now, when you use this pattern, the verb agrees with the noun in the phrase that follows the fraction. What is a fraction? 3/4. What is the phrase that has followed of India's 718 districts? What is the noun here in this phrase, district? That is plural. Then we cannot say has. It should be. Have what is known as a test positivity rate above 10%. Has is not correct. Districts have, plural verb. For the shops located in prime areas, it is unusual for well-to-do family members coming and buying liquor between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. I'm sure a lot of students will be able to spot the error. It goes with common errors. For the shops located in prime areas, it is unusual for well-to-do family members coming and buying liquor between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. This I have brought from the Hindu paper. I haven't touched the sentence. And family members is not correct. It should be members of family. My family members, not correct. Members of my family. Then you may wonder, you may ask, sir, how come it has been used the wrong expression in the Hindu paper? Usually what happens, the language is a dynamic. They keep changing. And we have something called current English or modern English. Current English or modern English. And from the exam point of view, we don't consider current English or modern English. We don't consider everyday English expressions that are in usage. We don't consider American English. So family members, and it has been used in the Hindu paper, still not correct from the exam point of view. You should say members of well-to-do families. Here, well-to-do family members not correct. I will change it. Members of family, standard phrase, but in this context, members of well-to-do families, that is the right expression. Sentence number or question number 3. The incident highlights the multiple risks taken by the crew of air ambulances as demand for the services have surged amid the second wave of the pandemic. Under pressure, these are not easy. When you're not under pressure, you read carefully. I'm sure you will be able to spot the error. The incident highlights what? The multiple risks taken by the crew of air ambulances, no problem, as demand for the services. The key word here, demand. Further services is a phrase. Don't consider that. Demand have is not correct. It should be demand has surged. Singular, singular verb. Go to the question number 4 or the fourth question. It has warned that the spread of the coronavirus as well as the rate of vaccination shall have a direct impact on economic outcomes. Something has warned. It has warned that the spread of the coronavirus appraise as well as the conjunction. Important exam point of view, there's a rule. The rate of vaccinations appraise. Here we have two subjects, the spread, the rate, and there's a conjunction. When we join two subjects using conjunctions like, along with, as well as, with, together with, like, unlike, besides, in addition to, no less than, there are so many. The verb agrees with the first subject. What is the first subject here? The spread. That is singular. Then you cannot use, it talks about future tense, future. You cannot use shall, you should use will. Will or shall, they go only with first person singular and plural. Here it is third person singular. You cannot use shall, you have to use will. One of the factors, the last question, one of the factors that will guide the return of employees to office in the information technology sector, most of who are working from home for over a year now, is the pace of vaccination. Pace means speed. This is not easy. Why? It goes against your established idea or a standard idea. One of the factors, no problem, that will guide the return of employees, no problem, to office in the information technology sector, no problem. Most of who, there's a phrase here, and generally what we say, you have to recollect, most of them. When we talk about some people, we say most of them. Most of them, here the pronoun is in the objective form. Even here, there's a interrogative pronoun. It could be a pronoun, it could be an adjective. It should be in the object form, not in the subject form. We use who with the subject, we use whom with the object. Based on that, it is not most of who, it should be Most of whom, most of them, that way most of whom, not who. This is an important question from the exam point. Now you have 5 sentences related to scrambled sentences. The first part is given, you don't have to touch. Remaining 4 parts, you have to get the correct order. Telangana police have learnt many lessons. We learn lessons based on a particular incident, from a particular incident, from a particular situation. So what is the preposition you have to look for from? Based on that, what is the first one? D is the first one. Telangana police have learned many lessons from last year's lockdown and have chalked out elaborate plans. For what? For the new 10-day lockdown that begins from Wednesday morning. So what is the correct order? D, B, C, A. Telangana police have learnt many lessons from last year's lockdown and have chalked out elaborate plans for the new 10-day lockdown that begins from Wednesday morning. Not that difficult. Banks will function as usual during the 10-day lockdown. Don't touch that. Remaining 4 parts, you have to get the correct order. Banks will function as usual during the 10-day lockdown. What is the key word over here? Lockdown. Beginning May 12th in Telangana. So it should start with C. Banks will function as usual during the 10-day lockdown beginning May 12th in Telangana. Though questions remain. Questions remain on what? On the customer footfall. Their branches are likely to receive. Excuse me. So what is the correct order? C, A, D, B. Banks will function as usual during the 10-day lockdown beginning May 12th in Telangana. Though contrasting word, questions remain on the customer footfall their branches are likely to receive. CADB. That is the correct order. A bit difficult. Israel unleashed new airstrikes on Gaza early on Tuesday. Unfamiliar context, you got to read very carefully. Israel unleashed new airstrikes on Gaza early on Tuesday. How did it unleash new airstrikes, or what did it hit? Hitting a pair of high-rise buildings believed to be housing militants as Hamas and other armed groups bombarded southern Israel with hundreds of rockets. So what is the correct order? CBDA. Israel unleashed. This is an important word. Unleash means release. Generally we say youngsters, the youth, you have a lot of potential. You can achieve so much, and that potential should be unleashed. Generally we tell the youngsters, unleash your potential. Israel unleashed new airstrikes on Gaza early on Tuesday, hitting a pair of high-rise buildings believed to be housing militants as Hamas and other armed groups bombarded southern Israel with hundreds of rockets. Not that difficult, but unfamiliar context, mind you. The department is hopeful that the government will exempt. Then you go through. It goes with a particular department. The department is hopeful that the government will exempt its services from lockdown. Its services from lockdown and allow registration through slot booking, hoping that revenue collection will continue unhindered in spite of lockdown. So what is the correct order? BADC. The department is hopeful that the government will exempt its services from lockdown and allow registration through slot booking, hoping that revenue collection will continue unhindered without being stopped in spite of lockdown. This is an easy one. Go to the last one. Transporting critically ill patients. Sometimes you got to be a little careful when it comes to options. Transporting critically ill patients is a difficult operation at the best of situations. But transporting COVID patients Needing urgent care raises additional challenges, the most important being isolating the patients and the crew. When you read all the parts, somewhere you have to feel things are in place. Based on that, what is the answer? No rearrangement is required. No rearrangement is required. The sentence is right as it is. Now the next one, again exam topic, closed test. You see a short paragraph but important words. So I have brought this. You see a short paragraph with 5 blanks and down you have 5 words. You have to select the right word for each blank. I'll read the paragraph first. After over a year, the between Indian and Chinese troops in eastern Ladakh shows no signs of disengagement as China continues to reinforce its troops and talks have been fruitless. More broadly, the India-China bilateral relationship has political relations are marked by and distrust, a negative word. Now, what is the first one? After over a year, the standoff between Indian and Chinese troops in eastern Ladakh shows no signs of resolution. No signs of resolution. No solution. Resolve to find a solution. Disengagement has ruptured or stalled. 2 words based on grammar knowledge. You cannot take hostility. You need a verb in the past participle form. Here you cannot say stalled. Disengagement, or you cannot say ruptured. Disengagement has stalled. Means what? Stopped. China continues to reinforce its troops and talks have been fruitless. More broadly, the India-China bilateral relationship has ruptured. Here it is E. Political relations are marked by 2 negative words, distrust and what is the other negative word? Hostility. So, after over a year, the standoff between Indian and Chinese troops in eastern Ladakh shows no signs of resolution. Disengagement has stalled. China continues to reinforce its troops and talks have been fruitless. More broadly, the India-China bilateral relationship has ruptured. Political relations are marked by hostility and distrust. Hostility, an important word we have got recently. Unfriendly, better word, antagonistic. And typical combinations, antagonistic attitude, antagonistic behavior, hostile statement, hostile comment, any of these, hostile situation. Now let us go to the last exercise. Words and meanings you have to match. What is the first one? Perennial problem. That means adjective. Because of space constraint, understand lasting for a long time. Answer is D. Intervene, to interfere. Answer is G. Here it is a verb. Salient adjective, salience noun. Salient features means what? Important features. Based on that, salience noun form, importance is a word. Parole, noun. Parole, it goes with crime, prison, jails, inmates. Means what? Temporary release of a prisoner based on his good behavior, temporary or permanent, based on good behavior. Congested, congested room, congested place, congested market. Adjective means what? Crowded, too crowded. J. Comprehensive, comprehensive syllabus, comprehensive policy. Adjective. Exhaustive, exhaustive, holistic, comprehensive, synonyms. Inmate, singular, inmates, plural. That means it's a noun. People confined or persons confined to a prison or a hospital. Stringent goes with rules and regulations. Stringent rules, adjective. Means what? Very strict. Invoke, part of speech verb. Use law in order to achieve something. And one of the meanings, usually it goes with religion, gods and deities. Answer is C. What are you left with? Complicity, noun. Accomplice, the person, noun. Involved in a crime. That's all about today's session. Hope you people have got enriched. And because every morning we have been experiencing for the last 3 or 4 days power cuts. That is the reason why I have not done live. Hope you will understand. And this may go on for 1 or 2 days. After that, we will go as usual. We will go for live sessions. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. Do remember to subscribe.